Well, hello, Awkward Knots. So, this wonderful tea kettle and this wonderful little bit of origami are going to help me show you how a nuclear power plant works. So, I think that'll be awesome thing. I think that will be a pretty awesome thing to do for me being on a Sunday.
DFTB. Hey!
So, I'm going to set it to boil. So let us pretend, for the sake of argument, that this loose leaf tea that I have here is our rods of uranium, which is a very specific kind of uranium. Uranium-238, I think, which basically means that it has a kind of an oddball isotope. So it's not really common, but you can make it out of other types of uranium, so that's not too bad. Anyway, this stuff is really, really radioactive, which also means that it's very, very, very hot. It will burn you. As a result, when you put it into water, you generate a huge amount of steam. We are, of course, for the sake of argument, saying that these, Lady Grey, by the way, it's delicious, are currently in here. Okay? That's what we're going to say. And then, with the hot water, the hot steam that's going to come out of here, we're going to imagine that there's almost like a jet engine kind of a funnel here, at the end of which is a turbine. Alright, well, so much for that visual. That didn't work. Anyway, so what happens is there's basically a big turbine up here which spins around, and that turbine is connected to a generator which uses electromagnetivity in some way or another. Sometimes there's magnets spinning around, sometimes there's a copper coil that is spun around and it produces electricity. Basically, it does really, really, really quickly on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, and that alternating current gets sent to us. So, after, I think there's a 6-year cycle for uranium-235, and it can go through 3 of them. But after that, this is, taken out of here, and it's put into a storage container in this place. And then they put running cold water inside of these cooling tanks to attempt to cool down the uranium. Because otherwise, all of the water, which actually has to be, brought in continuously, if they don't do this, you'll overheat and you'll have a meltdown, at which point you get Chernobyl. If you don't know what Chernobyl is, look it up. And from this, unfortunately, come a lot of, solid waste stuff. Some of it is actually really useful. Some of the chemotherapy, or not chemotherapy, but the radiation stuff that we use for cancer, and a lot of the radiometric detecting stuff comes from this process. There's actually a nuclear reactor that I pass on my way home to Sudbury from Ottawa in a place called Chalk River that actually does this. That the process they use creates a specific type of isotope that's used in the cancer research industry. So that's really, really cool. But you also get things that have a half-life of like 25,000 years or something. Like, and this stuff is like dangerously, really badly radioactive. You know, this is the like, you know, three-eyed fish stuff, right? So it has to be put underwater in, you know, a special holding tank, essentially. And it's just there for our purposes indefinitely, because there's, you know, there's nothing we can do about it. But, you know, it's no longer going to explode, but it's still leaching radioactivity into our into the environment around it, which is, you know, they try and contain it as best they can, but no one is perfect, I'm sure. So that is kind of how nuclear reactors work. I mean, obviously my visual didn't quite work out, and, you know, there's a few other things, but yeah. So I will talk to you guys later. With any luck, I will see you next Wednesday. DFTBA.